everybody, it's Kate from Linedecker Farms. Today I wanted to talk to you about how to plant a bare root peony division like this. This is quite similar to what you might get from Linedecker Farms when you order a bare root peony for us. If you haven't seen the video earlier in this blog post that talks to you about the anatomy of a bare root peony, go back and look at that now before you watch this planting video. You're going to want that detail. But just in summary, a bare root peony is going to have three components. It's going to have eyes, these pink lipstick looking things, a crown, and the roots. This is the root system here, as you can probably tell. So when it comes time to put this thing in the ground, today I'm going to show it to you in basically a foot by a foot pot, which will mimic a hole that you would use outside. If I shot this outside, it would be very, very hard for you to hear because of the wind and so forth. So I think I'm just pretend you're going to follow exactly the same process as what I'm doing with a pot. You'll just do it in your garden. So the key, and this is where we get a lot of questions, the key is that the eyes should be in zones 3, 4, and 5. The eyes should be no more than 2 inches below the soil surface. In the south, as you get into zone 6, 7, 8, you're going to want to put it even higher. You know, it would be like in zone 6, let's say it might be 1.5 inches, and then in zone 7 it might be 1 inch. I can't tell you because I haven't grown peonies in the south, but I do know if you contact your local extension or another peony grower, they'll tell you for zone 6 and higher what the depth at which they plant. But just know the warmer it is in your area, the less cold you have in the winter, the higher you plant these. Now people look at this and they go, okay, but which part 2 inches, right? And it is confusing because the crown is uneven. You have lower parts of the crown, you have higher parts of the crown. How do you know what's crown versus root? Because see, there's a little root coming right out of the crown. So do I plant it there? Where do I plant it? It is confusing, so what I now do is I look at the plant and I pick an eye that I probably usually would not pick as you see, if I hold this thing up straight, this is the highest eye. I would probably pick the second highest eye right here. And in this case, I would probably even tilt the root system just a little bit so these are kind of almost at the same level. I would then go to that second highest eye and I would put my finger at the base of that eye because you want the base of the eye to be no deeper than 2 inches below the soil surface, right? Now, obviously, if I chose the higher one, this whole thing would be planted more deeply, right? I choose the lower one because if you're going to err on one side or the other when planting a peony, err on the side of planting too shallowly. Because think about it, your first year, you're going to be covering that over with mulch anyway in zones 3 through 5, right? So let's say you planted it slightly too shallowly. Well, it's okay because it's going to have the additional protection it needs because of the mulch. So that's why I typically go to the second highest eye. So I would take this, turn it a little so these are almost equal, take my finger to the base, go up 2 inches, which on me, it just happens to be my second knuckle is actually 2 inches. So, and I know, okay, when I put this in the ground or in this pot, the soil needs to be equal to my second knuckle. Now, you can measure and use my finger trick and see if your finger is also about 2 inches. Or you can go out, my husband just uses a stick, a 2-inch, he has it measured out 2 inches on a stick and he just measures it that way. So, in terms of the hole itself, we recommend a 1 by 1 hole, which as it turns out, this pot is like 11 by 11, right? So it's basically 12 inches by 12 inches. That's what we recommend because peonies like to be able to spread out and they will spread out. So you want to give them space. Now, as you can see though, if I just dropped this peony into the bottom of a 12 by 12 hole, it's in there way, way too deeply. So what we tend to do is, sometimes you will have a peony that has a huge long root running down, straight down. And in that case, yes, you do put it at the bottom of the hole. But more often they're running to the side. So in that case, what we do is we take the soil that we already dug out from that hole, In this case, I'm using potting soil because it's a pot, but in the garden setting, you'd actually use the soil you already dug. You put it back in. And what I do is I fill and test. What I'm looking for, fill, test, and measure. So then I put it down in, and now you can see it's resting on a bed of soil. And then I test and do my finger trick, and oh, that's actually too much soil. I need to take a little bit out. Because when I look, I can see that the eyes would actually go past the soil surface. So it would be way too shallowly planted. Now, this time, however, you can see I've got it in there. And there is the eye. There is my finger. That's almost perfect with the ridge of this pot. I don't know if you can see that. So I pretty much positioned that properly. What I would do to finish it off is I would leave my finger there to keep measuring, and then I would simply fill in this pot or your garden hole with the rest of the soil, checking the whole time to make sure that you haven't planted too deeply, and you're done. Now, in the first year, you do want to mulch. I like leaf mulch is my absolute favorite, so like discarded leaves. But you know, grass clippings that have been dried a little bit, straw, all of that is fine. Mulch over the top of it, like I said, in case you planted too shallowly, that covers for that mistake. And then in the spring, take it off, and you have planted your peony. All right, thanks, and do let me know if you have any questions I didn't cover in the video.